Hello, world. Frida Reba Darcy and one Patricia O'Connor here. Are you good? Are you done? Okay. As you can see, I got a little carnage cam without having the tedium of watching me actually pluck needles. That was would probably actually be, as far as entertainment value, there's not a lot of high risk there. It's kind of like, well, it's kind of like watching somebody put tiles on a rocket. Watching somebody build a rocket sounds like it'd be fun, but it's a little like watching somebody lay bricks some days. So this is our Saturday drop, and what a precious Saturday we have here. It's really overcast. Our temps are in the mid to high 60s so far, and everything has just been fog bathed, which is kind of what happens here. For the most part, I woke up today to my watering can still having water left over from yesterday because of, like I said, our temps have been really cool and pleasant. So I came through here and watered a few things, but I didn't water the oak. It got a good water yesterday, and on a hot day it would be ready again, but it wasn't, and it isn't, and it wasn't. A little cobwebbage, I don't know if that'll read or not, a little cobwebbage from our spider hopper, our little leaf hopper. Do great things, little leaf hopper. So last night, all of the carnage came from our 17-year-old from seed Japanese black pine. This tree was raised by Jonas at Bonsai tonight, and I was lucky enough to be able to be at the right place at the right time to buy this little guy. And so last night we did. It had a lot of elongated old needles that are on the way. It still has a few. I didn't go too nuts. I left some old ones. I was told you were always supposed to leave some old ones, and I don't know what that means number wise. So I left some. We'll see. It can shed them too on its own, but I really think I neatened up the appearance of the little tree, and really happy with the way that turned out. I need to do that to this one. I did that somewhat, just standing overhead with my tweezers, but I didn't do the other side, and I can probably bring that in and do it next. A little quick check on Simply P. I'm just getting smitten with Simply P. I was wondering when I acquired this tree how I was going, well, this is a Japanese black pine, and that means, to me that means a tree that's definitely worthwhile. And I was having a hard time seeing at what point Simply P would be worthwhile. Well, I think I see it now. You just go Simply P. This is at a couple of weeks now, or not even a month yet, since I cut off half of it, making Simply P this slant style Japanese black pine. Here's a quick look at the coastal oak, and it could also come in for another little clip back. A lot of the shoots that I clipped earlier have already fractured off, and some of them are going really long, and for the same reasons that I keep doing that on the cork bark, it would be time to do that now to this one. The difference being this, you cut it and you get new shoots coming from that at a speed that's a little predictable. The cork bark is just absolutely speedy in its reallocation of new resources, and so I just keep feeding and watering and pruning it, and we'll just keep getting more and more vibrication out of this one. But this one, say it's 2 or 3 weeks behind that. If I clip it, then we have to wait the amount of time that you would expect to wait. When I clip the cork bark, it seems to come back a lot quicker than that, quicker than what I tend to actually be ready for. A quick look at the Wisterias. The Japanese Wisterias are doing what they do every year. The first year I got them, when they did this, they also slowed down their water intake. And I didn't pick up that this was this change of color of the leaves and everything was something that Wisterias do. So I thought I was killing the Wisteria, and B, I didn't stop watering it any less because I was told that they could just about live in standing water. So Wisterias, even though this thing was, they were both, you see how those are doing now? Not so with the Chinese Wisteria sinensis. It still looks, flush. But the Japanese Wisteria floribundi, they're doing this thing where they've already bloomed, they've already done their spring/summer thing, and now they're going to shed all this. The good news is a lot of times they come back in late summer with a whole nother flush on their own too, so it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Panning back to show them Codaheim maple forest. I need the water level. This is the one thing that after all of my shelf work, right, this is the one thing that if I water it, I will see water pouring off my porch the next day because I don't have a similar system there. I could probably put a border on this table and put a drain underneath it and catch something, but look, the water level on here is to the bottom of the pot, so I need to address that. Like probably within, as soon as I turn off the camera, I'll address that. I've let that get too high, but it wasn't that high until this morning. I just added water to that planter that went right through it, but that answers that question. The water level. Now what I might do there is put something underneath the feet that would raise it up higher than that. That way I would actually get a little bit more volume out of the pan, because it wouldn't have a bonsai pot sitting in it. It would have 2 or 4 little pedestals underneath there just to raise it up enough to where the pot isn't sitting in water. That's the answer to that, I think. Otherwise, that tray is a good idea. But I do, this much water pours out on the ground, and then if I go walk Frida and I walk around there and I look up, I can see that much water dripping off of. I don't see water dripping from here because of my catch pan down there. And whereas I could put a catch pan down there to catch this, it would have to be right there in the way. And you just don't throw stuff in the way of a clumsy person that's just reckless. That's just reckless behavior. So a little back up and look so we can see our cypress trees and all of their grandeur. I wouldn't say it's an issue, but I am noticing that this guy probably needs some sort of alignment before this completely hardens off. But look, can you see? This is what happened to this shoot this summer. That is remarkable. Let's see, I'm going to put my finger on the heel mark I'm trying to show you and then find it. Come on, where's your hand? Oh, there it is. This is what I wanted to show you. That was our chop mark from last year, from last fall or whenever. And this would have been, and then this would have been the first little sprig that was sticking out of that top that we cut, pointed straight up. Oop, as she knocks the camera. So, and that little guy is up in the lights. But if you stand off and look, like frankly, I have to go stand by the couch and kind of try to take the divider of the patio door out of the frame by moving my head back and forth. But it's a little tricky. But in the end, I'm not going to want this to have, it needs to look natural, but I don't want it to have some weird, oh, that's too bad, kind of a lean going up there. Oh, we could always fix that. There are ways to do it. But right now, I'm thinking that, now there's two ways. There's two things I could do about this. I could take a long strand of wire and put on that. Or I could take a bamboo stake and drive it in the ground next to it. The advantage to the stake is when you decide what your angle is. If you can do it with the stake, it should stay there with the stake. I can't hardly think of any disadvantages except you're just driving wood into the ground into your root base, but that probably more times than not that'll help your root base to diversify off if you're not just constantly doing that. But you can kind of see wire marks. The other way to go is wire, which is what the lead in I forgot to do. But I'm starting to see wire marks, and that was because I had only removed the wire where I kept this guy going straight as a younger shoot. A little long, probably from the looks of how much that dug in. You know, they're growing at a fast clip when that happened, so that was probably left in just a few days. You know, the difference in no wire marks and that amount of wire marks. Now, if I were standing on the other side, I would probably see those in different places along here. So the ones you see aren't the only ones. But anyway, the advantages to wire is it's easy and you can change it in nuance. So if I run a stake here at the base and I send it straight up, and if the stake is straight up, then I can run loose rope up there and nothing is restrained too hard, but everything is guided in the right position. However, that doesn't leave for nuance. What do you mean by nuance? Well, if I have a little bit of a curve here and a little bit of a curve there, that was probably likely started by wire. But if I wanted to do something subtle along the way, I'm not going to be able to do that with the stake, which means I would go back after the stake and then put wire on it anyway. So I won't make a program about that as much as I'm just kind of saying in a minute I'll probably need to make a decision on what I need to do to guide that leader. That back leader is a keeper. This leader on the right tree, as far as I know, is a keeper, as is the one on the left. The only one that's going to be new to the game will be this one. But while this is in between softwood and hardwood, it's got that purple color still going, but down at the bottom it's starting to get that brown barky looking texture. So we're right in the middle. It's right at the time where we still have say over which way it leans, this way or that way. And I don't want to cause some angle problem with myself later in life whenever I try to make the three of these trees look level. You don't want to get in a position where dang, the two outside ones look straight, but the middle one looks like it's off at an angle. So you've always got some situation you're trying to even out. And now is the time to do it. And just looking, that would also be a lot of wire. I will probably do that. I'll probably repeat what I did last year and throw a bamboo stake on this leader. It'll go in, I'll stab it in the ground right down here, and it'll come up it'll come up through this way, and then a little tie across it, and then I'll stand back and look and see what I've done. And that's what I was thinking I would have to do when I thought about a stake standing about 10 feet farther back and trying to line it up while this patio door is shamefully in the yeah. So I go over here and try to line it up, but I'm standing in a little off center. But you can kind of see it there. This guy's good. This guy goes up and then kind of. So that's what we're looking at, and that's what I'll have to address on that at some point. But anyway, that's just kind of also a reason just to stand back and take a gander at those boys. Everything is so cool, and yeah, we're like 68 degrees, and earlier the pavement looked wet around the pool, not from people splashing and running around, but from the fog that rolled in. I don't think we got any rain, but when it comes to the coastal redwoods, like what we have, oh, by the way, this is our little seedling, not seedling, this is our cutting container with lid upon it, and it would look exactly like what you saw in our last video. So I'm not going to remove the lid just to do, but we'll give it a couple of weeks or a week and check on it, or every third or fourth video. I'm going to be more curious than that. We might as well film that stuff, I suppose. So yeah, and I'm pretty excited about that. Even if this will go, we'll probably get a few cuttings out of that. That'll be pretty okay. But in the scheme of things, we're just getting started. So we've got room. We've got room for a couple of false starts. We've got room to grow, and all of that should be happening. So I'm pretty excited about what we did with our little start on our cuttings, all in all. Here's a view of this side, since it's a little tricky to get in there. But this is a side view of the Japanese black pine that I did I thinned out old needles on last night. And now I'm kind of panning up, and we're looking at our Cork Bark Oak. I don't think you're log anymore, Cork Bark Oak. Yeah, this is the sprig. We're gonna let this little sprig become something and help. I'm not really sure. I will not let it go up. This branch go up too high, but it will go up. It will go up some. So that's what's going on there. The fog that rolled in this morning. Whenever you see pictures of the redwoods that are growing in California, those coastal redwoods that are so huge, those guys in the past sort of depended on fires coming through as part of their life cycle. And their root structure below the ground is as massive as the tree is above the ground. And sometimes when you see one of those massive trees die, you'll see shoots sprout up all inside what used to be its perimeter. And those are it again coming back, because it's still got the other half below the ground with all of its resources. So those trees have managed to live for, in some cases, thousands of years. And if you looked at the rings in them, you would have seen that the rings that inside that you count to see how old they are would have been really tight, meaning that those trees were slow growth. A lot of times the water that they got more of than anything in the course of the year was a daily dose of fog. That's why this property has about 7 coastal redwoods on it, and they cut down a massive one on the corner that was thriving, that I'm still pretty upset about. I don't know whether or not that was our apartment did that. It was on the corner, so it might have been the city of Alameda did that. But at this stage in the game, anyway, they say that these trees, when grown in an urban environment, will have growth rings that are fatter because they're getting watered by sprinklers and being taken care of. And it's cool as that feels like. People will tell you that doesn't make for the same fire resilience that you would see in the slow growth trees. I happen to know that part of this is true. Cypress trees, they used to always say, had a high resistance to termites and would not rot. That is largely true in virgin forest or old growth cypress. It would appear more red because the ratio of fiber and resin that denotes the rings would be different. So whereas new growth trees will have a growth ring that's this wide, and everything between that is kind of white and fluffy and has an awful lot of oxygen in it, by the way. But in the old days, those growth rings would have been more like that, and that still would have produced an okay year. You wouldn't see the growing spurt that you do see, but it was able to just do that unhindered for hundreds of years, and that made for a stronger, heavier, denser tree that was more resilient to being snapped off, more resilient to the yearly fires that would roll through, and kind of as long as the trunk survived those fires that would roll through, would kind of do a bit of a prune. The Cork Bark Oak. The cork is an adaptation for brush fires. If it burned every stick of wood off of this tree, it would have the ability to come back, and that was the adaptation to those fires, is that cork bark. Well, the redwoods that grew for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years on the California or on the U.S. Coast out here, and in the Northwest out here, were all slow growth trees whose water intake was just a little bit at a time, and that's the difference. That's a little something I've learned about on those trees. I don't think that that's ever a reason to cut down a tree. I think if some arbors or some companies that you call, you could just as a test show them a perfect tree, and they'll say, yeah, you're going to need to cut that down, and then give you their card and leave. I am not all crazy about that. I know there's a real need in some trees, but still in all. We have a lot of reasons right now where our trees in the wild might be in trouble, and we don't need to be adding to that with greed. Anyway, sorry about the rant. A little quick look at Hondo, our Pondo. This thing is hard for me not to want to water. I just watered it a couple of days ago. That's right? Because it's naturally got these kind of lime colored leaves. They're not the greenest in the world. They are really waxy though, but they feel kind of firm. You can certainly see the new leaves starting to flush out. It has all the signs of health and stuff, but on a daily basis, it has this look of something that's dry. And so you have to keep asking yourself, is this possible? Could it be thirsty? Am I missing something? So that's where the dipstick does still come in handy. And it kind of verifies I watered this like 3 days ago. But with the job and all that, sometimes you go, was that 3 days ago or last week? Could be both. But that's all a part of staying on top of it. And we're really lucky. So far, I haven't had any enormously hot days where you have to water multiple times a day. That will still be doable. I would do that on a day when I have to work. I would do that before I leave the house. And then I would be back 8 hours later to do that again if need be. So in most scenarios, I would be okay with that. What I need to do, and this could happen today, is go through and do a little yard maintenance. I was kind of liking the moss, but now, especially since I've been feeding, that also means this clover looking stuff really likes to take hold. And so I need to probably go through, it would be a good time to go through here and clean while it's still manageable before it takes me over. So yeah, I just thought with the, I could have waited a little later today and we could have picked a topic and shot on that. But this morning is so nice and cool, and the weather, I don't often do videos on cloudy days like this. And that's not because, the main reason I don't usually shoot on days like this is because I usually kind of enjoy them, hoping that they're gonna last long enough for me to shoot. But then I kind of just, by morning and morning coffee, when the sun comes out, a lot of this burns off. But there's a mountain range way back there, and stuff that just kind of piles up on the backside becomes a good cloud mass and then pours over. There's some time lapses of that cloud mass pouring over that mountain range, and it looks like water when it does it. Anyway, that's just a little quick look at how lush and happy all of our trees are looking. This is the little show hen Bald Cypress that we started. It has taken back off, and quick look, I did take the blooms off the bougainvillea. She can have her, she can go back into leaf production and full photosynthesis and all of that. And yeah, this guy is starting to show signs of buds. Hopefully we can keep them without them burning off or, pushing out shoots and then having them die. I'm ready to see some, I'm talking about the oak here. I'm ready to see some stuff happen to the right side of this tree. Right now, everything is coming out of the left. It must have been the way the weed eater was pointing when it kept getting the axe. Anyway, that's just a quick look at all of our guys in Frida 2, and we're just going to continue to enjoy this great day. Frida is probably banking for sausages, her new favorite thing. Yeah, she kind of looks like a little love sausage too, but I mean that in the nicest possible way. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Nothing too major. It's just too nice a day for it to be anything that, major. It's kind of the day where you put on an extra cup of coffee and don't sweat it. So yeah, like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Our next drop will be mañana, our Sunday drop. And thank you so much for watching.